how's it going? Jason here. Thank you to all the recent subscribers. I really appreciate your support and those who have subscribed long ago. I'm trying to crack the 1,000 mark as soon as possible. So if you find my videos interesting or helpful in any way, please share them with your friends and let's make this happen. So today I want to talk about 5 Boss pedals that I like and one that I don't like. I've created a Boss board for this video of all Boss pedals that I own currently. So I'm going to talk about these pedals in order of the signal path, and first up is the Boss PH2 phaser, which I think is a hugely underrated pedal. I love Boss phasers. I've owned a PH3, I've owned a PH1R, and I reckon this one is just marginally better than the PH1R, and it's loads better than the digital PH3. Now, it gets overshadowed a bit by a little orange box, and yes, I own a Phase 90 and I love it as also, but these Boss ones have a different flavor to the classic MXR Phase 90, and it's kind of like chicken, you know. Yeah, I like roast chicken, I like barbecue chicken, and just because I like barbecue chicken doesn't mean I have to have barbecue chicken all the time. Sometimes I want roast chicken, and that's what this is to me. It's the same thing but a different flavor. Now, as far as settings go, I like to have the settings. I like to have the rate and the depth all the way up to get maximum flavor, and I just tweak the rate knob. So the examples I'm going to show you one using it at a slow rate, one at a medium, and one at a fast, and then I'm going to switch over to mode 2, which has a larger frequency sweep for the last example. And yes, I have this in front of drive. Always have anything that sweeps through frequencies sounds to me better in front of drive because you get more of a frequency sweep by putting it there. You would never put a wah pedal, for example, behind a drive pedal unless you were looking for a very specific sound. And I think it's the same with a phaser. So yeah, get one. So the second pedal I want to talk about is the trusty SD1. I'm not going to talk too much about this because I've done a video comparing it to a TS9 because it is a tube screamer type pedal. But just know it's about half the price of a TS9 brand new, and secondhand you can pick them up for about the price of 6 beers down at your local pub. So they are a great little unit. I use this as a boost more often than not, but you can use it as a standalone overdrive and it sounds fantastic. So the next pedal I want to talk about is the OD3. Now, I'll admit, I didn't know much about this pedal up until recently, but I'm a huge fan of the JHS vlog, and on that, he speaks very highly of this pedal in a couple of episodes. So I thought I'd give one a chance, and I'd try it out as a sort of light overdrive, because earlier this year I was looking for a pedal to do that kind of just slightly push sound for me. What I've found is this pedal does that job very, very well. It sounds like a cranked, and when you crank it right up, it sounds like a cranked tube amp just distorting, and it's fantastic. It really does what it says. It's like a amp style overdrive. It sounds fairly bright though, I will admit. That took a little bit of getting used to, but I think it's an absolute, well, as people say, a sleeper of a pedal that not many people realize is so good, and yet it's really cheap. Okay, so it's time to talk about the most infamous of these pedals, and that's the DS1. Now, there has been a bit of a new school approach to the DS1, people saying, you know, if you don't like it, then you're not using it properly. You need to use it as a preamp, you can't use it in clean amplifiers, you have to roll the tone all the way down. All these different things. Now, I don't know about you, I've owned enough pedals to know that any decent drive pedal, you can put all of the dials to 12 o'clock and you'll get a decent sound. And then from there, it's just about tweaking it. I will demonstrate this with everything at 12 o'clock. It's fairly unusable. It's very, very bright. And I know what you're going to say, but you're playing a Strat to a Fender amplifier. Yes, but I can play any number of other overdrives like my Zen Drive through the same amp, same setup, and it sounds way, way, way better. Now, again, you're going to probably say, but you know, that's a fairly modern pedal. Well, at the same time that this came out, there was the Rat, and there was also the MXR Distortion Plus. And not long after that, we had the first Tube Screamers. So there were really decent overdrive and distortion pedals around at this time. I'm not going to say it's a bad pedal. I'm just going to say I don't really like it. Again, going back to food, there are certain foods I don't like. A lot of people like tuna. I don't. It's just the way it is. However, I did get some pretty decent tones out of this. And when you stack it with a super overdrive, which I'll demonstrate later, it does actually sound pretty good. But on its own, I'm not really much of a fan. Boss CE2W, what a pedal. I remember I bought my first CE2, it was an old green label made in Japan a couple of years back, and I really loved that pedal. And then not long after, this came out. When it came out, I had to try it because it has CE1 mode. Now, the CE1 is the very first pedal that Boss ever came out with. It's the very first chorus pedal of all time. It is the chorus circuit from the Jazz Chorus amplifiers, which a lot of people rate as the best ever. Now, of course, that's a matter of taste, but I just thought that would be super useful because I love my CE2, but if I could get CE1 sounds as well, that would be even better. So when I got one at the right price, I bought it, and I absolutely love it. Now I'm going to run this. I'm going to show you how I use it for on CE2 mode. CE2 mode is very warm, so I like using it with chords. CE1 mode has a little bit more sort of top end. It's a little bit brighter, so it's really good for articulate playing, single note playing. I find arpeggiating sounds really nice in CE1, and then I'll show you also what the vibrato sounds like as well. Last of all, and not to be outdone, I have the DM2 analog delay. Now the DM2 is a highly sought after pedal on the used market, so they brought out this, the DM2W, and it sounds fantastic, very, very warm. Again, I did an episode on why analog delay is awesome just recently, so if you want to check out some of those examples, be my guest. Really warm sounding delay, I absolutely love it, sounds great, and everybody should have an analog delay in their arsenal. One of my favorite things about pedals is stacking them. So I want to show you some of my favorite combinations of the pedals I have here. before I show you this next one, does anybody else out there use phaser and chorus together? I don't know. I mean, I've been doing it for a while. I set the phaser at a fairly slow speed, and then I put the depth on the chorus sort of near 12 o'clock. Now, why I think this sounds good is the chorus helps to thicken up the tone, while the phaser gives you a nice slow sweep through the frequencies, and I reckon it sounds really cool. And I'm running these two also with delay. So there it is. Last thing I want to talk about is the fact that Boss gets so much hate, and I don't understand why. A lot of people have sort of left Boss for boutique brands, and it's really uncool to have Boss pedals in your rig. Now, if it wasn't for Boss, a lot of these boutique builders wouldn't be in business. Now, a lot of them got their start from modding Boss pedals. You look at guys like Robert Keeley, Analogman, Brian Wampler, Josh Scott from JHS. They got their start modding Boss pedals. So I think the whole pedal industry owes Boss a massive debt. When I was growing up, the music store that I used to frequent, they had two choices of pedal. They had cheap knockoffs or they had Boss. And all I wanted was a massive Boss rig, because if it was Boss, it was good. And they have maintained a standard of quality after, 40-something years, and they're still going. They're absolutely brilliant. And I love how they are harking back to their classic days in the 80s and early 90s, and they're bringing them out as Wazacraft pedals. I think that is absolutely awesome, and it's so cool. So if you like this episode, if you got something out of it, which I'm assuming you did, because if you're still watching now, you probably did, please like and please subscribe. Like I said, I want to try and get my subscriptions up to over 1,000, hopefully within a couple of months. So if you could do that for me, I would really appreciate it, and I'll see you next time.